The Hongdian 1861 is a full-size metal fountain pen with a design fairly reminiscent of the Auto Hut Design 4. However, this one's available in a wide variety of colors, finishes, as well as different capping mechanisms. I have this one with a pull-off cap, but you can also get these models with caps that unscrew. The pen has a fairly unique shape with a finial that has a flare-up and then a fairly straight profile to a step down to the end finial. The top finial features the Dove of Peace in the middle, and around the perimeter it reads Hongdian, Black Forest, 1861. It tapers to the cap itself, which starts with a long, narrow clip that has a groove in the middle. It is a spring-loaded clip, which makes it very functional, and it's easy to actuate from the bottom, but you can't actuate it from the top. The cap is then straight till the bottom where we can see some lettering. It says LT Hongdian 1861 Pro. The cap has a slight step down to the barrel, and as I mentioned, this is a pull-off cap, which reveals a number 5 size stainless steel nib. It's two-tone, branded Hongdian, and I have this one in an M, but it's available in a wide variety of other sizes, including bent nibs. And on the back, we can see a black plastic feed. The section starts with a flare-up, and then it has a tapering profile to a very slight step up to the barrel, and then that barrel is straight all the way back to the step down to the end finial. In the hand, the pen is very well balanced. It has good heft thanks to the brass construction, and it's also a comfortable length to use for long writing sessions. If you want to post, the cap does post securely. It's a friction fit, not a positive click. And it's a long pen when posted. For me, with medium-sized hands, I find it a little bit back-weighted and unwieldy, but if you have larger hands, it may be perfectly comfortable. In terms of size comparisons, here's the Hongdian 1861, a typical Pilot G2 rollerball pen, and your standard Sharpie. Before we get into the disassembly of the Hongdian 1861, I wanted to take a moment here to compare it with a few other fountain pens. Up top, we have the Pineider Avatar Twin Tank Touchdown, which of the pens on the table is the only one that's not a cartridge converter pen. This one features a vacuum filling system, but I wanted to bring it in because it does have a large top finial and it has a tapering design to a pretty small end finial. Just below that, we have the Lamy logo. I have this one in a brushed aluminum finish, but it's available also in polished finish. It's a tubular shaped fountain pen with another step down to facilitate posting. And just below the 1861, we have another Hongdian. This one is the A3. It's another cartridge converter pen that's made out of metal. However, this one is aluminum instead of brass. And this one does feature another interesting finial. If we take a look, it has dragons circling a sun, which is part of a Chinese myth. I reached out to Hongdian to understand why they have different animal depictions on their finials, and they said each pen has a certain theme and characteristic to it. The A3 is largely based on space travel, and also their design team is just full of animal lovers. Just below the A3, we have the Kaweco Sport in brass, and this is the only pocket pen that's on the table, but I wanted to bring it in because this one is made out of raw brass, so it does exhibit some patina, which contrasts the Hongdian 1861, which has some sort of lacquered coating to help prevent patina. The Kaweco Sport is available with an optional clip. The Hongdian A3 has a bent metal clip, and then the rest of these pens all feature spring-loaded clips. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps removed. All caps pull off with the exception of the Kaweco Sport, which has a cap that unscrews, and the Pineider has a cap that secures with a magnet at the base of the section. In their uncapped forms, the Kaweco Sport is again the shortest pen. The three in the middle are fairly comparable in length. The Hongdian 1861 is just a little bit longer than the other two, and the Pineider is the longest pen by far. Let's take a closer look at these sections and nibs. In this case, all nibs on the table are stainless steel and fully exposed. The Pineider is a number 6 size nib, and I believe it's made by Bock. The Lamy is an in-house nib, and it's the same style that's on the Safari. The two Hongdians are two-tone nibs and about the same size, but they do have different designs in the middle. And then the Kaweco Sport is probably the smallest nib of the ones on the table, and that's also an in-house nib. The Sport has a short hourglass-shaped section. The two Hongdians have flare-outs at the top, followed by a tapering profile to the barrel. The Lamy has a plastic piece at the top to help secure the cap in place, and then a straight grip section that has ribs. And then the Pineider also has a straight grip section with a fairly dramatic step up to the barrel. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps posted. All caps post securely. The Avatar and the Hongdian 1861 are about the same length when they're posted, followed closely by the logo. And then the A3 has a very deeply posting cap, and the Kaweco Sport is much more comparable in length to the A3 than it was in any other form. In order to disassemble the 1861, no tools are required, but you might find gripping materials are useful to have. The cap pulls off, and if we take a look inside, we can see a pretty prominent cap liner that runs the entire length of the inner cap. And that appears to be friction fit, so I wouldn't try to remove it. For regular maintenance, I would just run this under warm water or maybe soak it with a little bit of mild detergent. The grip section can be unscrewed from the barrel. And then if you want to remove the nib and feed, simply give them a twist and they should unscrew from the grip section. And those are held in place in this nib collar. And if we grab the feed and the nib and give it a pull, we should be able to get it out of the nib collar. Perfect. And then the nib and feed can just be separated like that. And at this point, the pen is fully disassembled. To reassemble, I'm going to grab the nib and feed. The feed does not have a ridge to help align the nib, so we are going to just have to kind of eyeball this, which is okay. What we're looking for is for the overall placement to be pretty symmetrical and for the shoulders of the feed to line up with the shoulders of the nib. We'll grab our nib collar, and this collar does not appear to be keyed, so we're going to just place that in as deep as we can and check to make sure that the alignment is still pretty good. Yep, that looks great. We'll grab our grip section and screw this back in place. And then reattach our barrel. Followed by the cap. And now we're ready to ink up. Inking up the Hongdian 1861, today I'm going to use just one of the cartridges that came in the box. Cap comes off. We're going to unscrew the grip section. Grab cartridge, insert it into the grip section and give it a push. We'll then reattach our barrel and our cap. I'm going to let it rest for a few moments and then we'll be ready to write. Okay, writing with the Hongdian 1861, cap pulls off. And it is marketed as a pro model. Today we have a medium stainless steel nib. And it's a beautifully tuned nib. It's smooth, it's very wet, it has a little bit of bounce, and it does also have just a hair of feedback so you can tell what kind of paper you're using. Honestly, I've had a lot of good luck with Hongdian nibs. Just about every one has been very well tuned. Our ink is, I'm going to just call it a Hongdian black. And it seems like a very well-performing black ink. For flex, I'm going to turn the page. You can push out a little bit of line variation, but not much. It's a fairly stiff steel nib. And for reverse writing, it's actually quite smooth. Not as smooth as the front lays up, but the ink flow went just fine. And you do get a bit of a thinner line, so this is certainly a pen that you could consider reverse writing with. So what do I think of the Hongdian 1861? I'm a big fan of this pen. I find that it's quite comfortable in the hand, and the premium finish of this brass feels very luxurious, even though it is a very affordable pen. Yes, the design does appear reminiscent of the AutoHut Design 4, but considering all the different variants that you can get with this pen, the different colors, textures, materials, even you can get a pull-off cap or a screw to secure cap, I feel like that really makes this pen kind of stand on its own. The nib, as I mentioned, is a fantastic nib, one of my favorite stainless steel nibs in general, and I highly recommend it. Also, I don't know if I was just lucky with this particular pen, but it came with a really generous degree of accessories. Not only did I get a converter, which honestly a lot of premium pens don't come with, but it also came with 20 cartridges, and that's really unheard of, regardless of what price you pay for your pen. And then in terms of the overall pen itself, probably my favorite aspect of it is actually the capping mechanism. It has a really positive click that feels extremely high quality. However, that also is an area where I feel like there's room for improvement with this pen. For whatever reason, they didn't decide to use the flange on the top of this grip section on the back of the pen, and instead, when you're posting the cap, it's just a friction fit. And it's secure, but it's not very deep, which means that it is quite a long pen. And for me, with medium-sized hands, I find that it's pretty back-weighted. So I wish that Hongdian would have considered instead matching the flare-up at the bottom of the grip section on the bottom of the pen. Another area for improvement, and honestly it could be considered a pro or a con with this pen, is the finish of this brass. It has kind of a lacquer coating to the brass, which prevents patina and makes it a little bit slick to the hand. Patina is when brass develops a kind of discolored look due to the oils of your hands. You can see it pretty clearly on this Kaweco Sport in Brass. And personally, I really like patina because it kind of shows that the pen is being used and loved. And that's not going to happen with this model. But at the same time, quite a few people don't like patina, so maybe that could be a benefit if you're one of those people. And then lastly, probably a nitpick with this pen is the clip. I love that it's spring-loaded. That makes it extremely functional, but I wish that you could actuate it from the back like the Lamy 2000, and also because it's so long and the way that it's secured on this finial, it almost looks a little bit bent. I tried to kind of wiggle it back and forth to make it look straight, but more often than not, it kind of looks crooked. But overall, I am very impressed by this model. I think it's an excellent value. If you are interested in the AutoHut Design 4, this can be a very affordable way to get a feel for that body type in your hand. And if not, especially in this brass finish, it's a great knockaround pen where you can take it and abuse it to a certain extent and not really worry about it getting dented or scratched. And all of that, combined with an excellent writing experience, makes for a fantastic product. And that just leaves me to say, thank you for watching.